Welcome you all to the last part of the Unit 8. So today I am going to discuss with you about few more things regarding characteristics of living organisms. So in my last two videos I have discussed with you regarding the common characteristics of living organisms. So these are the main and common characteristics of living organisms, and in last two videos I have discussed you about the cellular organization, nutrition, respiration, irritability or coordination, excretion and movement. So in this video I am going to discuss with you about the reproduction and growth and development. So now let's see what is reproduction, growth and development of organisms in details with this lesson. Now let's see what is reproduction. Reproduction is the most important living characteristic that involves in maintaining the continuity of life on our earth. So if we consider the definition for reproduction, it is a biological process in which an organism gives rise to young ones or new offsprings similar to themselves for the continuation of their species. Reproduction is a common characteristic that you can observe in all plants, animals and in microorganisms. So this helps to continuity of life on our earth. If we consider the process of reproduction, it is in two main types as sexual reproduction and asexual reproduction. So when we considering the sexual reproduction, there should be two individuals of the same species to produce new offspring in this process. Here a sperm cell and an egg cell unite to form a zygote. This zygote develops into the new organism within the process of development. So this is the sexual reproduction, and when we move to asexual reproduction, there are no need of the involvement of two organisms to produce one single new offspring. Instead, one matured organism can produce new offspring which is having identical features and characteristics to the parent organism. So this is the two main types of reproductions you can observe within the plants, animals and microorganisms. Now let's see how these plants perform the process of reproduction. So when considering the reproduction in plants, they show all the two main types of reproductions. The first type is asexual mode of reproduction. Here all the vegetative parts of the plants, that means except the seeds, all the other parts of the plants which involve in producing new plants are called as vegetative parts. So here in this diagram it shows some examples for vegetative parts you find in the plant. So these parts can produce new plants through the process of asexual reproduction. And the second mode you find in plant is sexual reproduction, and the sexual reproduction occurs through the process of pollination. In pollination, pollen grains and the ovules that you find within the ovary of the plant unite through the process of fertilization, and it produces seeds, and these seeds germinates and produce new plants. So this is the two main types of reproduction that you can find in plants. Now let's see how this reproduction occur in animals. Here also you can observe the two main types of reproduction as sexual reproduction and asexual reproduction. So if you consider the sexual reproduction, it occurs in two main ways. The first type is internal fertilization. The fertilization occurs inside the body of the female organism, and the other type is external fertilization. The fertilization occur in the external environment. So for the sexual reproduction, there should be two organisms of the separate sexes, or the organism with the combined sexes. So in this diagram, you can observe the life cycle of the frog. So frog shows the external fertilization, and here it shows how the internal fertilization occur in animals. You will learn regarding these things in further in next unit. So I am not going to explain more details regarding sexual reproduction here. And now let's see how the asexual reproduction occurs in animals. So there are a few methods for occurring asexual reproduction in animals, that is fission, budding, fragmentation and parthenogenesis. And I'm not going to explain each these method here, because these things also will be taught in future. So now let's see how microorganisms do reproduction. Microorganisms also show both sexual and asexual reproduction. If you consider the asexual reproduction of microorganisms, there are two identical offsprings are produced by a single microbial cell. So here in this simple video clip, it shows how the microorganisms reproduce asexually by binary fission. And if you consider the sexual reproduction of microorganisms, they are the genetic materials of two microbes of the same species mixed together to form the genetically different new microorganisms. So this is how microorganisms perform reproduction. Now let's see the next living characteristic of living organisms, that is growth and development. So this is the last living characteristic that I am going to discuss with you. So if we define growth and development, growth is the increase in size and mass of the organism, and the development means the transformation of organism when it passes the different growth stages of its life. So when studying this life cycle of butterfly, you can clearly identify that at the beginning it has eggs, and after hatching eggs it produces the caterpillar, and the caterpillar produces a cocoon, and within the cocoon it develops the butterfly. So the growth and the development of the butterfly taken place in different stages. And also, if you consider the growth and the development of a plant, it also shows different stages. The growth of a plant starts from a seed, and after passing different stages of life cycle, it produces a huge tree. If we consider the steps involving in growth and development of organism, it can be expressed using three major steps as shown here. So in the first step, the cells increase its size, and after increasing the size and achieving the maximum size and maximum growth, the cells begin to divide, and with the division of cells it increases the cell number, and Formed cells differentiate to form different tissues, organs, systems, and build up the whole organism. So this is the total process involving growth and development of organisms. Now we have discussed all the living characteristics of organisms. By considering those characteristics, let's try to classify viruses under living organisms or non-living things. So if we consider the viruses, they are having a tiny structures. That means they are too small. So you cannot observe viruses through a light microscope. Instead, you have to use an electron microscope to observe viruses. And also, they are non-living structures. We call them as non-living structures because they don't show the living characteristics as other organisms. And also they are non-cellular. When compared to other microorganisms, viruses don't have a cellular structure, so we call them as non-cellular. And also they have no cellular organelles for performing metabolic activities. And when considering the structure of a virus, it contains a protein called as a capsid, and their nucleic acid is containing within this capsid. So if you consider the type of nucleic acids containing in the viruses, they contain DNA or RNA, but not both. And also they always need a host cell, that means a living cells for continuing reproduction. They cannot reproduce freely as other microorganisms, so they act as a parasite. And also they have different shapes and sizes. So these are the main characteristics you find in viruses, and by considering all the characteristics, we call them as non-living structures which show few living characteristics. Now here you have the diagram containing the viruses of different shapes. So these are the common shapes you can find among the viruses. And also here is a diagram which explains the structure of the virus. So here it has labeled the parts of the virus, so you can understand the structure of a virus. And also you can see that they don't have a cellular organization as in other microorganisms. So these are the main things that you should know about viruses. Now we have come to the end of the unit 8. So it's your responsibility to watch all the 3 videos regarding unit 8 and make your own short note for the lesson. So I'm going to wind up my video, and let's meet with another new lesson in my next video. Goodbye.